So I really enjoyed what you were saying earlier about having intention versus opinion.
Yeah.
And I could really feel that when I have an opinion about the way things should be, I'm really splitting my energy.
Well, to be fair, you can have a good feeling opinion, but most opinions are pushing against something.
But when I have an intention about either how I want to be now or the future, it's less stuck in the past.
Well, it's easier for you to define that you are going toward wanted rather than pushing against unwanted. It's just so much easier to hear it, isn't it? To feel it. Yeah.
So I want to ask for help with one thing, which is that I get stuck with anger. When I have an opinion about the way things should be and they are different than my opinion, I can quickly, especially if somebody I care about, I feel like they're threatened, I can go into anger.
Well, it's logical. We've been saying to you all from the first time that we presented the emotional scale to you that anger certainly is higher on the emotional scale than defeat or despair or grief or fear. And so if something that is happening is making you feel defeated on behalf of someone else, which means it's active in your vibration too, then anger is not a bad step, it's a step in the right direction. And even revenge is a step in the right direction. But the thing about it is, if you don't understand the resistance that is present in anger, so you don't do something about continuing to move up the emotional scale, then you can develop patterns that just hold you there. And the law of attraction, this is the weird thing that makes you all not like the law of attraction. The law of attraction will bring you more things to be angry about. You get angry on a regular basis and fearful things won't show up anymore, and guilty things won't show up anymore, and blameful things won't show up anymore, but a whole lot of things to be angry about will show up in your experience if that's where you're hovering on a pretty steady basis.
And it's just sort of a
knee-jerk reaction.
It's sort of where I idle, and I function pretty well with a base level of anger, which is terrible. I totally get that.
Well, we don't think it's a base level. We think it's a knee-jerk level. We don't think it's even 70% or even 60%. Your base level is way different from that. But it really sticks out when it is there. So when we say to you, it's really going to help you. When we say to you, you are where you are, you feel how you feel, and how you feel is what you get. Just let that settle in for a little bit. Let it be a stronger awareness. How I feel is how I feel. And I've got good reason to feel like this. I didn't make this up. I've been following this and this and this. I feel this way for a reason. Fine. You could even go so far as to say, and I know I'm right. I'm right about feeling like this. But still, there is a power in the path of most allowance, because in your narrower view of what is right and wrong, you are still disconnected from your source. And that is the problem. That's the disempowering problem. That's the I don't feel good problem. That's the out of balance problem. That's the diminishing of well-being problem. You can be right by all standards, but there's only one standard that you really want to calibrate to, and that's who am I really and what do I really know? And that is that I would rather, what's on the other end of the stick from anger? There's hate and love, that's easier to define, and there's confusion and clarity. But what is on the better feeling?
I have a friend of mine who's a pretty spiritually fit guy. And he always talks about this fact that men have this same capacity for creation and destruction. And the more anger or destructive energy you have, it's still the other end of that stick is your creative energy, your ability to protect and defend and create and help.
So the anger is about my deprivation of my power, and on the other end of it is my acknowledgement of my creative power. That's really good. And what you're angry about is that you're pinching away who you really are over something that they damn well should stop doing. But when you look at it not in terms of right and wrong, you see your inner being This is important to remember. Your inner being isn't doing that. Your inner being is looking at the same thing you're looking at and not pinching off from source energy. Your inner being is accepting the right to be how this person wants to be. Your inner being is accepting that diversity is balance, that without it, no one could choose, that it all helps focus. And so as you get it down to what really matters, I'm choosing to calibrate to this person and push against this person rather than calibrate to my inner being who isn't pushing against this person. And that's where your creativity comes in. If you take one of the people or subject, let's just take government, for example, and maybe you've got a real solid case to push against some aspect of that. If it's possible, and it usually is, if you're looking for easy existing matches, if you can find some benefit of government.
Well, it's easy to have an opinion of how they're wrong. You can almost always have an opinion, but I think would be different for me to have an intention of how I'd like to see government be right. I don't know. You lost me there.
Well,
yeah. Or I lost myself.
That's because it's a subject that most people are so practiced in pushing against.
Government's complicated. I'll give you an example, though, of one of the things that I got angry about. I was walking my dog in a park off the leash, in a park where hundreds of other dogs are off the leash, and a person with like 6 dogs off leash, they were a professional dog walker, threatened my dog. And I went berserk. I especially in my family, my wife, my kids,
Let's stay focused on that for just a little bit. So you felt angry because
your
dog felt in jeopardy.
Yeah, and I wanted to protect it.
What were you angry about? That person doing exactly what you were doing?
Yes, yeah, that's where I don't understand why I go to that so quick. And it has something to do with being threatened. And I have that same reaction if my wife isn't well right now, and if anybody even slights her, and I just feel this protective.
Well, you're hitting upon the most important conversation that we could ever have together. When we say to you that self-interest is real, what we mean is you cannot see other than through the eyes of self, and you cannot attract other than from self. And so when it, in a flawed premise way, appears that someone else can threaten you, it's such a departure from what your inner being really knows about the law of attraction. There is not a law of assertion. There's a law of attraction. There is not a law of assertion. Well, Abraham, you're making me crazy. The dogs were attacking my dogs. It looked like law of assertion to me. It was not law of assertion. It was law of attraction. So then, if you can just reach a little bit to accept that, then you might begin asking, well, what's in my bag of marbles? Do I actually have a vulnerability that's going on? Esther had such a startling awakening not that long ago when she was visiting with someone that she really, 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 really loves. And this person was being defensive with Esther. And Esther thought, I don't deserve this. I didn't say anything. I don't deserve this defensiveness. But she walked away from it and she thought, the law of attraction is the law of attraction, and the bag of marbles is the bag of marbles, and my point of attraction is my point of attraction. And if I'm getting defensiveness, I'm attracting defensiveness. How in the hell am I attracting defensiveness? And once she accepted that she must be because she was getting it, then she thought, oh yeah, I was kind of thinking a little bit of that. I wasn't saying it out loud because I didn't want to pick a fight. But she got the fight even though she didn't say it out loud because it was active in her bag of marbles. And you all are so smart. You sniff out what's going on with each other's marbles. You do. And so you're roaming around in a world where there are so many people that are doing so many things. Most of you, it is logical that you would feel defensive because there's so much going on that you feel you can't control, that you don't know how to control, because you haven't really been exercising very much deliberately your control. We want to hear you, but let's just finish this thought out. Let's say that you had that experience with the aggressive dogs, and rather than it feeling like they were asserting into your experience, you accepted that you were attracting while you really don't know how, but you want to know. Now that question is active within you. So your inner being will show you when you have vulnerable feeling thoughts. Your vulnerable thoughts will just show up. And when they do, you can stop and say, rather than try to figure out the rightness or the wrongness of this, what's the path of least resistance of this? And as you shore that up a little bit, what you begin to notice is that not only do you have fewer, if any, moments in time where you feel that you were vulnerable, but you find yourself just moving through life with such a feeling of assurance and good timing. There are robbers all over your streets. There are people all over the place getting ready to have a traffic accident. There are people stealing things. You're walking amongst all kinds of things. When Jerry first met us, he said, Abraham, I think there should be an incarceration system where all the burglars go to one island and burgle each other, and all the rapers go to one island and rape each other, and all the murderers go to one island and murder each other. And we said those islands already exist. They are vibrational islands. And he didn't like hearing it, and neither did the people like you all that we were telling, because it feels like the raper is a different frequency than the one who's being raped. But it is not a different frequency. When you are insecure, that's when you become a bully. That's when you try to seek control. It's the same vibration. And so as these lovely animals show you, expose, our friend said, I didn't think I had any of that going on until it manifested in a bigger way. Well, you might not think you have any of that going on until it manifests in a bigger way. But then you have an opportunity to consider, hey, do I have a sense of vulnerability? And is that why I'm such a safeguard? Is that why I've developed this attitude of protection? But you can't protect yourself or anyone from your own point of attraction. You just can't. The law of attraction will find a way to let what you don't want in when what you don't want is active in your vibration. And so on the one hand, that feels a little vulnerable for a minute because, oh my God, what my bag of marbles? No telling what's in there. I've been carrying it around my whole life. But when you start clarifying it and you start feeling better, you begin to feel more and more and more in control of what your point of attraction is.